All right, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the program. My name is Billy Dees. If you have never checked out our program before, we are primarily an interview and a commentary based program. Today, we are kind of like doing an impromptu live. We are live tonight on Fireside, and I on Fireside anyway. I try to do things about media. And today was kind of, if you're a news junkie, and I don't know if I would describe myself as a news junkie per se. Um, I enjoy current events and I enjoy just, following what's going on in the world. I try to take in as many different perspectives as I can. But I don't follow the news as much as I used to because of the fact that it has become entertainment. And what I mean by that is that it has become a chase for ratings. And that's kind of one of the things we're going to talk about today. I notice a good friend in the audience today. I won't call her out, but thank you for being here today. What happened today is kind of interesting because usually when a major anchor leaves a network, it is because of either a I don't know, a controversial thing that happened or a big drop in the ratings. And that's not really quite the case. Tucker Carlson, who has been a ratings leader on Fox News, has parted ways. And it's hard. This is all speculation, by the way. Everything that I'm going to talk about, in regard to these stations and what has gone on with them is purely speculation. I don't have any inside information. I don't have any great insights. But there's some interesting stuff happening here. Tucker Carlson was let go from Fox, and I don't believe there's any connection. But what's also interesting is Don Lemon, and Tucker refers to him a lot of times. I've heard him say Don Lemon. From CNN also is gone. That doesn't surprise me. Don has had some issues in the evening slot with the ratings and some other things. He moved to the morning slot and had a controversy not too long ago about talking about women being past their prime when they're in a certain age bracket. And that did not go over very well. And he's over the years, I can't name them all off, but in my opinion, he's made some bonehead comments over the years. And I don't believe that anyone is going to be in a big hurry to get him on their network. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with him. I'm sure he's going to be able to get a job in at least a small market on the radio or some news station or whatever. I don't see big network interested in Don Lemon. Tucker, on the other hand, is a whole nother story. Tucker Carlson is here again a ratings leader. And I don't doubt that he is going to land at another major network. As a matter of fact, I heard Glenn Beck pretty much right on the air say, "You can come here." And if you follow those people at all, that would be a good match. Quite frankly, that would. And I'm not saying that because I agree with Glenn Beck all the time or anything like that. Strictly from a media perspective, okay, if you are like I am and you enjoy how things in the media work, okay, there's absolutely no question that Tucker Carlson would fit in with the Blaze like a glove. But he's probably going to be a big money guy. He's probably going to be a big money guy no matter where he goes. And that's something that you have to consider in all this. Let's talk a little bit about Tucker Carlson and what happened over at Fox News. Now, Reuters put out some facts here. I'm just going to kind of pick through this a little bit about what happened today. Fox News Media and its top-rated host, Tucker Carlson, have agreed to part ways less than a week after the Fox Corporation media company settled for $787.5 million in a lawsuit in which Carlson played a starring role. This was in regard to, if you kind of followed that, what the voting machines went through. And I don't know exactly. A lot of people have speculated that part of the lawsuit, I believe it was with Dominion, a part of the lawsuit there may have stipulated, yeah, we'll take this payout. We won't go to court. We'll take this payout. And for Fox News, and if you're familiar with that company, $787 million, it's shy of $1 billion. That's a lot of money. Okay, that's a lot of money for any organization, but Fox is one of those companies that this is going to pinch a little bit. They can afford it. And it might have been, yeah, we'll do this payout, but it's on the condition that Carlson be let go. That we don't know. That's speculation. That's a lot of the speculation that is on the channel, largely because Tucker Carlson Tonight was the highest rated cable news program in the key 25 to 54-year-old age demographic. And this can't be good in the short term, I would imagine. And this is strictly speculation on my part. This can't be, a good sign for what may be going on with Fox News at this time. For some reason, I just lost my camera. Am I on? Okay, there we go. Camera's back on. Very good. Not that it makes a big difference for those listening to the audio, but the camera's back on. All right. So anyway, typically my experience has been when you have a star, you don't rock the boat unless something really catastrophic has happened. And if this was a part of some sort of the settlement that they paid out in regard to the defamation and the voting machines and all that other stuff, we don't know, but that would explain a lot in terms of why this happened. I also caught this. I don't know if you have been checking out Robert Kennedy Jr. I got to tell you, in terms of the new generation of Kennedys, and I say new in regard to JFK and Robert Kennedy back in the 1960s. Those guys, of course, I loved, and just about everybody has. They had their issues, but for the most part, I felt they were good leaders. The new generation that came after that, and that includes Ted. I was no fan of Ted. And some of the younger ones that have popped up, no fan of. Unfortunately, John Jr. passed away in that plane crash. I believe he showed promise, but he really never really said any startling political things. He had the magazine there for a while, and he wasn't known for taking a whole lot of political stances. There's a lot of speculation that he might have run someday as president of the United States. We will never know. Unfortunately, these people, these situations when somebody like them, it's sad anytime somebody passes away, obviously, especially so young. He was so young at the time. Just a horrible situation. But these situations often blow a hole through history because what if dies with them? And I don't doubt that if he wanted to have gotten into politics, he certainly would have had the support. He had the dynamic charisma. He had the good looks. He had everything. I'm optimistic that I would have liked him, but for the most part, the newer batch of Kennedys are not people that have resonated with me. So anyway, when I start hearing Robert Kennedy Jr. talking recently, I'm kind of stunned. I'm kind of stunned because I actually agree with some of the stuff he's been saying. And that's, I don't know, that's either kind of scary or kind of cool. I'm not sure which. But he said this today on Twitter. I caught Robert Kennedy saying this on Twitter today about this thing with Tucker Carlson. 5 days after Tucker Carlson apparently crossed a red line, and I don't know what he's referring to here, but he apparently acknowledged that the TV networks pushed a deadly and ineffective vaccine to please their pharma advertisers. So what he's basically saying there, and I'm kind of interpreting this rather than just reading off some jargon from his tweet, but he's basically saying, "Hey, we knew that some of these vaccines that were being put out were problematic, and they were. That's objectively true. And I'm not saying they weren't ineffective. I'm not one of these anti-vaxxer people, but there were complications that were played down by the media. There's absolutely no question." And he's basically asserting that these were played down and they were glossed over because of the fact that big pharma are big advertisers on these stations. So therefore, there was a conflict of interest. And he's saying that he told the truth. This is Kennedy talking about Tucker, told the truth about how greedy pharma advertisers controlled TV news content. And he knew that the other newscasters were pushing this narrative, even though they knew that there were problems. And Kennedy says, he goes on to say, this just demonstrates the terrifying power of big pharma. Now, I don't doubt that big pharma plays a damn big role in the advertising revenue for these stations. I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but if you do, I guarantee you almost every television break, every time they break away from programming, there is some kind of an advertisement for some kind of a drug that I never heard of, for some kind of an ailment that I never heard of. It's like, and then they attach the word. This is a Billy D's ism, if that's a word. They will attach the term syndrome to any condition that seems like it needs treated and make it sound like it's a disease. Like I have dry mouth and dry scalp syndrome, and I have itchy butt syndrome, and all these other things. And the way to cure it is to buy this cream, is a way to buy this pill. This is going to make you feel better. And then they list off a whole bunch of potential side effects, which is even talking at fast speed when they go, itchy mouth. They go through this whole thing about all the side effects. And then they say, ask your doctor about it today. It's wonderful. Okay, for this syndrome that you're having. And I really, as a matter of fact, the last time I watched TV, I really noticed that there were 2 or 3 ads every single break from the program about some kind of a drug, like I said, that I never heard of, for an ailment that I've never heard of. And I do believe that, big pharma is a leading source of revenue for these stations. And here again, I'm not getting political with the vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch of the imagination. Me personally, I prefer the traditional formulations for vaccines. Okay, and this would mean, like, for example, the flu shot is a formulation of the flu, and on down the line. I'm a little nervous about some of these mRNA vaccinations, which stimulate the body to be on lookout for something else. Because what can happen is it can get stimulated at the wrong time for something that just isn't there. And the next thing you know, there's all this stuff swimming around in your system looking for some disease to attack. And that's where some of the complications have come from. And you got to keep in mind, too, that a lot of this testing was done under the guise of an emergency situation. And meaning that a lot of the long, drawn-out testing and trials and laboratory work and all these other things weren't done. Now, here again, I'm not making a political statement about this at all, but this involved a lot of money. And this conflict of interest that news organizations have with talking about these issues when these companies are, in fact, pumping money into the station, to me, is problematic. And I'll tell you what, another good example of this that has nothing to do with drugs. This, so do you ever watch your local news? There's always some guy walking around on a trench coat, okay, and he's got these segments. He's the guy who's looking out for you. He's going to make sure you don't get scammed. He's that troubleshooter. He's the guy that goes out and checks out all the things that are going on, and and what gets me about these things, I actually saw one. I'm not being facetious here. There was one of these trench coat investigative reporters caught the guy whose job it is to collect nickels out of out of the parking meters, taking a nap during his lunch break. So let's say his lunch break began at 12 o'clock. It's supposed to go to 1 o'clock. At 1:30, this guy in the trench coat is banging on the van door saying, excuse me, do the taxpayers know that you're on the job taking a nap? Now, it really gets to me that, they always seem to single out people like that who are just barely squeaking out a living. It's the guy who collects the garbage. It's the guy who collects the nickels out of the parking meter. Or it's the guy who works, on 12-hour days at the local garage changing spark plugs. These are the guys that are destroying our society. All right. But by the same token, and this is where I'm going to say there's a conflict of interest, I really question what's happening a lot with some of these subprime loans. And in essence, what a subprime loan is if, for people who can't afford good credit on a new car, they will often get a subprime loan for a used car. And a lot of these used cars that are sold on some of these deals aren't even worth Blue Book value. Okay, these cars are POSs from the very beginning. These people are talked into exorbitant high interest rates. And what happens is a lot of times these loans default, but these cars are turned over, and there's rules about how you can turn these cars over, but they get it done. And some of these POS used cars generate more money. This industry, these POS used cars that aren't worth anything, generate more money than what a Mercedes-Benz dealership makes on a brand new Mercedes-Benz. That's where these subprime loans are going now. And I can't believe that on some level there isn't a crisis building with that, just like we had with the car loans. But anyway, what I'm getting at is this Mr. Investigative Reporter that's finding all these garbage men taking a nap during their shift on the taxpayer's dime. Never go after these big car dealerships selling these shitty loans to these people who can't afford them, and these people who are it always picks on the people who are the most vulnerable. These people that have a job, they need to get to work. They don't have a good credit score, so they have to take one of these horrible loans. It's always those people that get picked on. Okay, and then one of these investigative reporters is never kicking in the door into one of these places because these dealerships are the primary source of income for a lot of these television stations. So I'd be willing to bet that a lot of these big investigative reporters that are hunting down all these people that collect the nickels out of the parking meters, taking a nap on their job, don't spend a lot of time looking at these car dealerships, pushing all these shitty loans. And, when you hear them say, hey, we'll get you financed or we'll give you an iPad. Of course they will get you financed because everybody gets financed. They play the odds. Chances are the down payment to drive it off the lot already guaranteed them a profit before you would make your first payment. That's how bad some of these subprime loans are. So, with that being said, there's a lot of conflict of interest in a lot of these news programs going after issues that are affecting our community and our society because of the fact that the institutions, the companies involved are big advertisers. So it's not just big pharma affecting the way newscasters talk about vaccines and other drugs. It's a lot of different things that pump money into the media companies that probably pretty much ensure that they won't get a whole lot of criticism from these investigative reporters. Now, what's my take on what happened today? Well, I don't know. Here again, there's another thing online that I found that Rupert Murdoch, who runs Fox News, didn't particularly like all the conspiracy theories that Tucker Carlson was talking about. I don't know whether that's true or not. And here again, everything I'm talking about here is speculation. We don't know. I personally may have an inkling that between Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson, that there may be somewhat of a shift going on in cable news. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about here, the fact that they sold their soul to, and I mean all of them have, the viewership on cable is way down across the board. Viewership on cable news is down pretty much across the board. Now you can piecemeal out different things, but it's down across the board. And I believe what happened. There was a time when CNN was mostly like the good guys. They were the boring guys, but they were the good guys, right? You had MSNBC that was off the rails to the left, and then you had Fox News that was off the rails to the right. The only way I'll defend Fox News is at least Fox News, for the most part, made a separation between their news programs and their opinion shows. Now, Sean Hannity, who's a lot of his arguments are as rudimentary as they come. I'm no fan of Sean Hannity, but he makes no he makes no secret about the fact that he's a conservative and he's catering to conservatives. It is an opinion styled show. All right, that's fine. But nonetheless, you had CNN in the middle that they probably leaned a little bit left now and then, but for the most part, they were the good guys. And in the wake of the election of 2016 and some of the stuff that went on, everybody decided that to make money and to get ratings, you have to have a camp. Okay, you have to have a camp. You have to have the people that either hate Republicans and love Democrats, or the other way around. You got to have this base, or you're not going to have a consistent viewer base. I believe that was kind of the kind of the premise that they were working on. Well, what happened then was the villain left. Okay, the villain left. The Orange Man was gone, and I'm no here again. I'm not a fan of Trump or Biden, so that's not where I'm going with this. But the arch villain left. Okay, and CNN had nobody to rail against anymore, and they were left kind of without a personality. And you have Fox News, which has been in a number of different goofy things involving the reporting around what happened on January 6th and voting machines. And there's an erosion of the trust that a lot of the people have out there in regard to these news organizations. And I believe there's sort of like this thing that maybe we shouldn't be so partisan. I've been doing this for a while, and I got to say, catering to an audience to that degree can be very dangerous. The best way I can make an analogy here is if you have an organization and you're really catering toward big donors. Hey, we got to get those big donors. Okay, we got to make those big donors happy because they're the dudes that keep this place afloat. We got to get those big donors and keep them happy. You keep doing that enough, and pretty soon those big you might as well sell your soul to the devil right now, because the first time you step out of line, they're going to threaten to pull that funding. And that's what happens when you have a television station that caters to the political wilds of the moment. And that's what happened to CNN. After the bad man that they railed against was gone, their audience wasn't that fired up anymore. And now you have this shifting environment to where people are probably going to spend a lot of time on a mobile device. Some of the statistics out there say that the vast majority of people get their news from Twitter now and Facebook and other things, but primarily Twitter, because of the fact that when something's breaking, like the Tucker story, people go right to Twitter and see what's trending. And we can argue about the merits of that, but people aren't going to the TV and clicking it on to find out what's going on anymore as a primary thing for the vast majority of people to do. And catering to the political wilds of the moment, I believe, has bitten a lot of these networks in the rear end. MSNBC and CNN probably took it the worst. Fox is feeling it now. Don Lemon was an ideologue, just like Tucker Carlson was. Tucker, did a pretty good job making his case a lot of times, but it was still partisan. It was still it was still very opinion driven. And so now, in my opinion, some of these news organizations are saying, you know what? Maybe we should not worry about the short term ratings. And that's something every business does. They always worry about the next 90 days. Well, what can we do to increase sales the next 90 days? When in fact, it might cost them down the road dearly. I believe that a lot of these news organizations are realizing now we got to find a niche. We got to find a safe place to be that is responsible and at the same time maintains our ratings and wins back the public trust. And I would hope that is the case, because nothing would make me happier than for CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News to be all reliable sources of news. But as I illustrated in one of my podcasts not too long ago, ever since the Kennedy assassination, people woke up and a lot of suits determined that, hey, we can make a lot of money selling cereal with this news stuff. And ever since then, it has been a chase for ratings, and a chase for ratings through the 1980s, a chase for ratings through the 1990s, and now with the benefit, or the, I don't know, the curse of social media, people are chasing clicks and ratings. You have these big news organizations with big presence on social media that they're almost interchangeable. What they're doing with their social media accounts and what they're doing with their programming on the cable news it's almost the same thing. They're chasing ratings and they're chasing clicks. Hey, if anybody does want to come up and give their opinion, I'd be happy to, try to cater to some of that, and have some people come up and give their opinion. I see some good friends down in the audience. It's up to you if you want to come forward or not. There is no right or wrong answer to what's going on today with cable news and what's going on with some of this other stuff here. It's all speculation. But I can tell you that the Tucker Carlson event really surprised me, because somebody told me, I ran across a statistic here that when he was on during the NBA playoffs. Now, granted, the NBA's ratings are way down. If you could look at what's happened with football over the last 20 years, the football ratings for the most part have gone up. What's happened since the Jordan era is ratings for the NBA have gone down, but nonetheless, it's pretty unusual for a cable news host to pull in more ratings than the NBA playoffs, and that's is my understanding. If what I heard is correct, Tucker Carlson did that relatively recently. So that's the kind of powerhouse that he was, and that's the kind of powerhouse that Fox News apparently let go today. So, is this a part of a shift that is in the works with what cable news has done? Are they realizing that they've made some big mistakes over the last 5 or 10 years? Are they changing directions now with Don Lemon and and some of these other anchors being sent on their way, or is this just part of politics? Big advertisers, a lot of people that pump money into Fox News really weren't happy with what Tucker Carlson were saying, and they told Fox News as part of this settlement, yeah, we're going to take this amount of money. We're not going to stay in court. We'll take the settlement, but Tucker's got to go. I don't know. It's interesting fodder for speculation, that is for sure. But how true it is and how likely it is that that happened, here again is anybody's guess. So anyway, if you would like to speak, I just invited someone. I'll give them a chance to come up. If you don't want to come up, I perfectly understand. But anyway, it was a good thing to talk about today. I find it very interesting. Like I said, I enjoy this stuff. And it's hard to believe too. The election is heating up. The election is heating up, and that to me is amazing. Anthony, are you there?
I am. I sure am. How are you, Billy?
I'm doing okay. Do you want to stay just audio? Is that fun? Is that okay? I mean, that's fine. If you want to bring video, you're more than welcome.
You would have to invite me, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that. I believe I can. Give me just a second. There you go. If you want to come up for video, go right ahead. How
You
are
see
you
me?
doing?
Good, sir. Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your stage.
Absolutely, I enjoy your guys' program. I can't catch it every week, but I do enjoy it. You guys do a fantastic job.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
uh, have you followed this story today at all?
I just got off work about an hour and a half ago, and then some fellows invited me to be on their show, on their podcast, and
Yeah.
no, I'm not. I did see something about Tucker Carlson got disowned by Newsmax.
Yes.
What did he do?
Well,
What
that's
did
what
he
we're
do?
speculating about, and this is pure speculation because, like I told the audience, I don't have any inside information on this. There's a lot of different things. Um, Robert Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr. Made a tweet insinuating that he did not cater to big pharma, and big pharma pumps a lot of money into that network,
Mm,
and he felt that that played a role in it. As you and then there's a lot of people who say that the litigation between Fox News and the maker of those voting machines, I believe it's Dominion, they settled out of not, as part of it, as opposed to going to a long drug out thing. They settled for 787. Let me try that again. $787 million.
mm,
And a lot of people are speculating that part of that payout was Tucker's got to go because he said a lot of things about us we don't like.
mm,
So that's kind of the speculation because of the fact that his ratings were really solid. And that's why a lot of people are speculating that this had to be something external and it had to be something significant because of the fact that his ratings are so solid. Why would they
mhm.
let him go? Being that he was like the anchor of the network, that
Yeah,
8 o'clock time slot, he owned it.
right.
Yeah. So whether you like him or not, just from a media stand aspect, why would a company do that unless there was something extenuating there? So when you watch cable news, what station do you watch?
I used to watch Newsmax, and then I thought they lost their funding or they got pulled. Um,
Well, he was part of Fox News.
okay,
Yeah, that's what he was with, uh,
okay,
and that's Rupert Murdoch's company.
okay.
And where he's going to go is another big thing because I can't imagine that he is going to take us. Don Lemon was also removed today from CNN. I don't think that's going to make a big splash over there. I don't think there's going to be a big drive to get him. But for
Hmm.
Tucker, I know that Glenn Beck, which he owns the Blaze, that was and that's a big outfit. He could afford Tucker. So that would be a good pairing. And here again, I'm not saying because I agree with those guys all the time. I'm just saying that would be a good pairing in terms of their style and what they like to talk about and all this other
Hmm.
stuff. That would be a good pairing.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of the story behind Tucker.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I don't find myself watching much television at all,
yeah,
much news. Not honestly, not since post pandemic.
yeah.
Um, I
And that's true for a lot of
oh,
them. That's what I was getting at. A lot of them really wore out the audience with some of this partisanship that they had. A lot
yeah,
of people just got tired of hearing it. It was the
to the
same
point
thing every night.
to the
Yeah.
point where I no longer have much of a political opinion. Um, I don't. I mean, I still vote, but I don't just vote ticket. You know,
Yeah.
I, I I research and get to know the candidates, and yeah, just make sure that the values that they're fronting align with what I believe.
Yeah.
You know.
I understand that. I do believe that you have to watch that. And I say that because there was a time, like, let's say during the Cronkite era, where he didn't care if the audience agreed with him or not. It wasn't a matter of putting his opinion out there. He was stating a certain set of facts. He might add his own analysis to it, but he at the end of the program, sometimes he would give his own little spin on things. But for the most part, he told you about stories that maybe you didn't want to hear,
Hmm.
boring stories, quote unquote, boring stories. And the news at that time, there wasn't a lot of other things to watch, so you had to watch the news before you got to Gilligan's Island or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had to watch it.
Right.
And it wasn't a matter of holding the audience. And I think people were better informed in that era. Now there's so many choices. You have to keep them entertained. You have to tell them what they want to hear. You have to tell them the side of the story that reinforces what they already believe about the subject.
Mm.
And that's where I feel that a lot of news has gone astray now. They've done that too much. They've catered to a fickle audience,
Mm.
and I just believe that in the long run, your ratings might be lower if you cater to a more low key type of programming. But over time, it will pay dividends. It will remain stable. When a politician gets in trouble, let's say they say something off the wall or they get caught in the middle of a scandal and everybody jumps on, let's hate this guy. Yeah, you get this big jump in ratings because everybody's watching it.
Mm.
And then once that story's over, they're gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know that is sustainable like it once was.
Right.
There's too many ways to get your news now, and the mistrust has been sewn into the fabric of the individuals that are out there. Anyway, we got you can stay right there, Anthony. If anybody else wants to come up, I'm about to close this out. I usually stay under an hour, but anyway, if you are on Twitter and you have an opinion about this, I'd really like to hear it because, like I said, if you're a news junkie at all, and I wouldn't describe myself as that, but I do enjoy the news and I do enjoy the media. I'm very passionate about it. This idea that a leading anchor, this would be like CBS back in the 1970s, just up and firing Walter Cronkite, just out of the blue. Um, and maybe not that big, but because it was a different time. But this is the point. Tucker has carried that network for a while now, still at the top of the ratings. And to have him let go like that, there's a lot of speculation as to why this happened. So this is something we will monitor. This is something that I will kind of keep track of. It might take weeks or months for this to kind of unfold, and see where it goes. But I would be interested in your opinion. Now you can follow me on Twitter, real easy to find on Twitter at Billy D's. All right. Okay. It's just that easy at Billy D's. Real easy to find on Twitter. Tweet me your opinion. Kind of let me know, and I might incorporate it in some kind of a follow up on this. Anthony, thanks for jumping in and helping me out. You working on some new music or anything like that this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, actually, I've got a show on Fireside tomorrow night at 8
Okay.
p.m. Sound Alchemy. Um,
Sound Alchemy.
yes.
Well, that sounds awesome. Sound Alchemy. That is fantastic, man. If you haven't checked out Anthony, do check him out. I'm glad you told us. Are you guys still doing the thing on Saturday night?
No, that project is now defunct.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Well, you guys. I mean, obviously, you carried it for a long time. The four of you did. It was a good ensemble group there.
Fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to listen to. So this thing on tomorrow night. That'll be Tuesday. Is this something you're doing regularly now?
I'm gonna try. Yeah, I've got it down as bi-monthly, but I may bump it up to weekly.
Yeah, it sounds like once a week is going to be easy until you start to do it. As
Yeah.
somebody who knows, yeah, it seems like, oh, it's only a half hour once a week. How hard can it be? And then you start doing it, and you
Right.
realize, yeah, it's a lot of work. And there's some people down there that I know, like Gracie Ellis. She puts out a lot of content. I don't know how she does it all,
Mhm.
but she puts out a lot of
Yeah,
content, and
definitely.
yeah, she's a worker, and she's an inspiration to a lot of people. And I'm glad you joined us, Gracie Ellis. Hey, I'll tell you what. Anthony, thanks for being here, and I'll tell everyone, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks for
I
having me.
really, yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. So kind of keep your eye on what's happening with the news. I'm really anxious to see what happens with Fox and CNN and what they're going to do here in the coming future. Thanks a lot, Anthony. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for the rest of you, have a great night. Thank you for listening, and I really appreciate you being here.